A nation-divided protests erupt in Venezuela. Venezuela is in turmoil. The nation is sharply divided after a recent election. Nicolás Maduro claims victory, but many Venezuelans say the election was rigged. Massive protests have erupted across the country. People are demanding Maduro step down. They want fresh elections. The situation is tense. There are reports of violence and arrests. The international community is watching closely. Many countries are condemning the election. They are calling for a peaceful resolution. The protests are the latest chapter in Venezuela's long political crisis. The country has been plagued by economic and social problems for years. The situation is complex. There are no easy answers. The world is watching to see what happens next. Will Maduro cling to power? Will the protests force change? The future of Venezuela hangs in the balance. A disputed election. Maduro's controversial victory. Nicolás Maduro has been in power since 2013. He was re-elected in 2018, but that election was widely seen as fraudulent. The opposition boycotted the vote. They claimed it was unfair. The recent election was also controversial. The opposition participated this time, but they say the process was flawed. They allege voter intimidation and irregularities. International observers expressed concerns. Maduro denies any wrongdoing. He claims to have won fairly, but many countries refuse to recognize his victory. They say the election was neither free nor fair. The disputed election has deepened the political crisis in Venezuela. It has further eroded trust in the government. The opposition is demanding new elections. They want a chance to lead the country. Voices of dissent. The Venezuelan people take to the streets. Across Venezuela, people are making their voices heard. They are marching in the streets. They are waving Venezuelan flags. They are demanding change. The protests are a sign of the people's frustration. They have suffered for too long. The protesters come from all walks of life. There are students and workers. There are doctors and teachers. They are united in their anger. They want a better future for Venezuela. The protests are largely peaceful, but there have been clashes with security forces. Tear gas and rubber bullets have been used. Some protesters have been arrested. The situation remains volatile. The opposition leaders are calling for more protests. They are urging people to remain peaceful. They say the world is watching. They believe that international pressure can help. Section 4. The world reacts. International condemnation and calls for action. The international community has condemned the election. Many countries have refused to recognize Maduro's victory. They are calling for new elections. They want a peaceful transition of power. The United States has been particularly critical of Maduro. It has imposed sanctions on Venezuela. It has also recognized opposition leader Juan Guaido as interim president. The European Union has also condemned the election. It has called for a dialogue between the government and the opposition. It has also threatened further sanctions. The Organization of American States, or OAS, has also rejected the election results. It has called for a new electoral process. It wants the process to be free and fair. Section 5. A nation in crisis. The human cost of political turmoil. The political crisis is taking a toll on the Venezuelan people. The country is facing a humanitarian crisis. There are shortages of food, medicine, and other essential goods. Millions of Venezuelans have fled the country. They have sought refuge in neighboring countries. They are desperate for a better life. The situation is particularly difficult for the poor and vulnerable. They are struggling to survive. Many are going hungry. They lack access to basic health care. The political crisis has also led to a breakdown in law and order. Crime rates have soared. People are living in fear. Section 6. An uncertain future. Paths forward for Venezuela. The future of Venezuela remains uncertain. The country is at a crossroads. Will Maduro agree to step down? Will the opposition be able to unite the country? One possible path forward is dialogue. The government and the opposition could agree to negotiate. They could discuss a transition of power. Another possibility is continued protests. The Venezuelan people could continue to demand change. International pressure could also play a role. The situation is complex. There are no easy solutions. But one thing is clear, the Venezuelan people deserve a better future. They deserve to live in a democracy. They deserve to have their voices heard.